Coors Light, Steve Fairchild, Coach's Show. Got another great crowd on hand here tonight as Colorado State gets prepared for their contest coming up on Saturday afternoon down at Falcon Stadium against the Falcons of Air Force. And for the second consecutive week, the Rams are going to take on a nationally ranked team as the Falcons. They have made their appearance for the first time here this year into the top 25 poll. They slide in at number 25. Of course, last week, Colorado State, they were hosting the highest-ranked team ever at Sonny Lubick Field at Hughes Stadium, 5th-ranked TCU. Now, Colorado did come in back in 1996 as the number 5 team in the nation as well. TCU was the 5th-ranked team in the nation here this past week. Boy, that's a very, very good Horned Frog football team. And I think everybody that came out to Sonny Lubick Field at Hughes Stadium last Saturday understood that was a good TCU football team. But with that Ram defense, they certainly played well on Saturday. It was a 6-0 game at halftime. But unfortunately, that Frog offense kind of wore down that CSU defense as that game went on. Colorado State would end up losing that one 27-0. It was the first shutout under the tutelage of Steve Fairchild here at Colorado State. First shutout since 2006 and first time the Rams have been shut out at home since 1997. But the good thing about college football is that you get to lace them up. Coming up the next Saturday, that means the Rams will get the Falcons. And Colorado State trying to stop a couple of streaks. Coming up on Saturday, the Rams looking for their first win over the Falcons since 2005. The Rams have lost 4 straight. Be a great time to snap that streak. Also be a great time to snap a winless streak down in Colorado Springs. 2002, the last time Colorado State went into Falcon Stadium and got a win. So Colorado State will be trying to snap both of those streaks coming up here on Saturday afternoon. Again, it's a 12 noon kickoff. We're going to be on the air starting with our tailgate show at 10 a.m. coming up on Saturday morning. Here's what we have coming up on the program here for you tonight. We'll, of course, talk to the man of the hour, head coach Steve Fairchild, get his thoughts on last week's game and his thoughts on the Falcons. We'll talk to Tom Millers, the director of ops for Colorado State football, and senior Eric Pites will also join us on the program. All that and much, much more coming up here in the next hour. We'll take a time out. More to come here from Old Town Fort Collins and the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show on the Colorado State Sports Network. Welcome back here to the Beach House Grill in Old Town Fort Collins. Heads up. Warren Tracy running the master controls for us here tonight. Charlie Grimes back at master control. I'm Brian Roth, and the head coach of the Rams, head coach Steve Fairchild. Steve, thanks for joining us here tonight. Boy, the kind of get that kind of cool air going at practice here today. You kind of sense that fall is here, don't you?
Things might be changing. I saw a few long sleeve shirts out on the practice field.
Let's talk about that TCU game and your impressions of the Frogs. They came in as a 5th-ranked team in the nation. You knew you were going to see a good football team, and that's exactly what you saw.
Well, we did. They're a ranked team, and Gary Patterson's done a great job with that program. But I like the way we played in certain areas. I thought defensively we did a very nice job and kept them out of the end zone there in the first half. And our special teams, I thought, in some areas really played well. And our goal was to not let their kick returner change that game. We did a pretty nice job and even almost got our own return there with Tony Drake a couple times on kickoff. So there were some facets where I thought we played fairly well. And I know the look in our team's eye, you have no chance going against a top 5 team like TCU unless you genuinely in your heart believe you can win that game. And I know our kids did. I knew they took that field knowing they could play with TCU. And just unfortunately that we're not in sync offensively. We're still kind of inconsistent in that area and didn't do enough there, didn't make enough first downs to help our defense out. And, inevitably TCU took control of that game. But there were some positives.
Yeah, having seen TCU on TV a couple of times this year, I marveled at their offense. And, they came in averaging 45 points a game, came in averaging nearly 500 yards per game. But boy, what you guys did to them in the first half, I was impressed, and I'm a Ram fan. You know that I wasn't necessarily expecting you guys to shut them down the way you did. What were the keys defensively for you guys in the first half?
I think Larry and his staff did a nice job with the plan, and we've been simplifying things a little bit defensively so we can play a little faster, and and we're getting more and more experience over there. The kids are coming along, some of the new guys, and I looked up at one point there in the third quarter, and we had 3 brand new players in the secondary. You know, the true freshman at corner, Ezra Thompson, who's a redshirt freshman at safety, and Dominic was out there at the other corner. So, you know, we're still young there as well, but we've got some talent like we do on offense, and they're starting to play pretty good.
Yeah, you talk about Dominic Vincent really seeing some of his first time at Division I football. He's a JC transfer.
You know, he's only a sophomore, and you know, very athletic kid, and we spent some time in fall camp even thinking about playing him at receiver. He has that good of ball skills, but with Momo's injury, I'm glad we left him at corner because we're going to need him there.
Colorado State held TCU to just a couple of field goals at halftime, 164 total yards. Second half, they took the opening drive, went down the field, and kind of got that run game going, which is so vaunted. Did you guys wear it down just a little bit?
Well, I think eventually in that second half we just played too many snaps. Had we been able to hold the ball offensively, I think things might have been a little bit better from a statistical standpoint defensively. You know, they did do a nice job with that opening drive. They busted a third and short on us there and converted it and got themselves down in position to get the ball in the end zone. But, you know, we were in that ball game, and again, a little better play offensively, a little more consistency there, and you know, and I think it's coming, but obviously we've got to do it out on the field this Saturday.
Yeah, you talk about that offense, and you guys didn't play particularly well on that side of the football. Did you take a step back from the Idaho game in your mind?
Well, obviously we didn't play as well as we did in the Idaho game. I like what we're doing out on the practice field. Again, you know, we're just a lot of new players in the front and a brand new quarterback, and you know, there's going to be some bumps in this road, but very talented group, and I think if we keep playing and keep practicing the way we are out there like we did today, we'll push through this.
Are you worried that you lose any of that offensive momentum? And we talked about, was it a good time to face TCU coming off that Idaho game? And of course it's not up to you, it's up to the schedule makers, but did you lose some of that offensive momentum, do you think, heading into this week?
Well, I don't know if we had a whole lot to begin with. You know, we've been kind of up and down the whole year, but I think the kids are confident in what they're doing and our approach to doing it. You see, I've seen flashes as far back as spring football and all through camp, and you know, I knew we were going to have to play our way through this, and we just got to keep working. But they are some talented kids, and I see us getting better. You know, as you look through the context of a whole practice out there, I see us being a little more consistent here, a little more consistent there. But again, we've still got ways to go. You know, you're talking about a lot of young kids out there, but hopefully we'll get that done here pretty soon.
Talking to you in the postgame about the offensive struggles, I kind of got the sense, and I know you have the utmost respect for that TCU defense, I kind of got the sense that you felt it was more on your shoulders with execution and kind of on the coaching staff's shoulders, the offensive performance.
I did. I didn't think this game in particular, I didn't think we just handled it right. I did a poor job of planning it. I probably did a poor job of calling the game. You know, but you know, I don't want to take anything away from TCU. They're a good football team. Gary does a good job. They're always very, very stiff defensively to get anything going, and you know, but I'd like to have this one back, I guess, best way to put it.
Yeah. Raymond Carter goes down early in the game, Steve. He will not play Saturday from what we've been told. Give us a prognosis on when he will return and how severe the injury is.
Well, he's got a mild knee sprain. I shouldn't say mild. He's got a knee sprain. It's certainly not a season-ending deal. You know, these things are sometimes 2 weeks or sometimes 4 weeks, but you know, we've got him in a brace. He's getting treatment, and we'll just kind of assess where he's at. He definitely will not play against Air Force, and then we'll just take a look at him next week and just see where he's at. Yeah.
That opened the door a little bit for some of your other backs. Chris Woke getting some carries late in that game. I thought he looked really good on a screen pass. And we were talking about on the air. It's like, boy, you know, Chris Woke looks like a kid that can really help you. And I think it was 2 plays later he fumbled the football.
Yeah, you know, and he hits a run in there. He hammers it in there like you want to see, but he doesn't protect the football. And he and John both had a fumble, and you know, we've just got to do a much better job in that area. But there are, you know, Leonard's getting back. You know, Tony Drake's getting more and more reps. So between the 4 of them, you know, we've just kind of play everybody at practice and see what they do well, and try to put them in with things that they do well, and then somebody will be hot during the game, and that's who we'll go with.
Well, we'll talk more about the contest coming up here against Air Force with the coach of the Colorado State Rams, Steve Fairchild. First, let's take a timeout. From Nelligan Sports, you're listening to the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show on the Colorado State Sports Network. Welcome back to the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show here on the Colorado State Sports Network. Brian Roth with you. Be joined by the head coach here in just a moment. The First Poudre Valley Health System is proud to be the exclusive healthcare sponsor of Ram Athletics, and they're proud to say that when you need medical care, they're here for you. For more information, visit pvhs.org. Well, Steve, we talked a little bit about the injury situation with Raymond Carter, and boy, really sad to hear the news about your long snapper and Scott Albrecht. He was a guy we had on the show earlier this year. He's a guy that you said has NFL aspirations as a long snapper, and he's done for the year.
He really is. He suffered a serious knee injury. Scott's one of those guys that he's as good a long snapper as there is in the country, and yet he still can run down and cover. On kicks. He's special. I know he's going to play at the next level. It could be a situation where we throw a brace on him here in 2 or 3 weeks, but he has been such a great kid in our program, and I think it's best that we do what's good by him and get that fixed, and he'll be at the combine or whatever's next for him.
Yeah, we talk about that. It's a position that you don't notice until they make a mistake.
You don't have one. Yeah. When I came in here, I took the job. That was the first thing everybody said is you do not have a long snapper on campus, and I'd stayed with the Bills all the way through January, so we were scrambling to find a guy, and Larry Lewis did a good job and kind of knew some things about Scott, and we ended up recruiting him hard, and I'll tell you what, he's as hard as anybody to replace, to be honest with you, because he is an NFL type of long snapper, and it's like you say, with even as a head coach and the fans, and you just take it for granted till all of a sudden he's not in there, and then you realize how good he was.
Yeah, then you get a one hopper to the punter, and next thing you know, you're giving up a touchdown or field position. How do you go about recruiting a long snapper? Is that more on referrals, or?
Well, it's like anything else. We've got to do a good job evaluating, and we got to know who they are, long before it's time to sign them. It's like anything. You've got a book on all the sophomore quarterbacks and sophomore long snappers and freshman, junior college type guys, and. I think all along, and I've said this, the key to recruiting is, as much as recruiting, is evaluation. And Larry Lewis does a great job. We were able to target Pete Kondodiakis as, a true freshman that could come in and punt for us, and he's a tremendous get by us. So Larry Lewis done a tremendous job.
You bring up Pete Kondodiakis. You touched on this in the opening segment of the show, but did a great job keeping it away from Jeremy Curley. And even when I think he had 2 times where he actually had a chance to return, you guys did a nice job of corralling him.
Yeah, we did cover. Our coverage has gotten better since I've been here. As we start to get more athletic at linebacker and safety, the coverage will continue to improve. But, we were all joking with Pete the night before. I said, I don't care how far you just kick that thing high, because their return guy was as dynamic a player as there is in college football, and to let him get one with some room would have been a big mistake, and our special teams did a good job in that area.
Yeah, I think there was one. He had a 9-yard punt return, and he must have been going for 10, 11 seconds because he was making people – he wasn't moving forward.
But I'll tell you, that's what type of player he is. We made the mistake down there a year ago. We line drive one to him, and before you knew it, it's in the end zone. So, and he'll take some back this year, and I'm hoping we do too. We're so darn close on the kickoff returns. We popped Tony Drake through there a few times, and it looks like we're going to hit a crease, and we've gotten positive production out of it, but, you'd like to see one go to the house.
We talked about the fact that Momo Thomas out for the year. He was your main punt returner. Tyson Liggett returns punt for you last week. Tony Drake, I know, is a guy you'd like to work into that role. At what point do you feel comfortable with a true freshman?
We're more comfortable as each day goes by, and we'll sit down, not only with Larry Lewis, but Dan Hammerschmidt, our receiver coach, does a lot of work with those return guys, and we'll deem when it's right to put Tony back there, and have a lot to do with the coverage of the team we're facing and the kicker and home game, away game, that sort of thing. But Tony's getting closer. Obviously, he's very effective with the kickoff returns, and I would see a day where one day he's going to be our punt returner as well.
Out of practice today, saw T.J. Borky in a red shirt now practicing. His status, and what's the injury?
He had a boot on. He sprained an ankle in the game and kind of toughed it out and played a little bit. Our goal today was just to get the boot off and let him run around, which he did. depending on how he feels tomorrow, if he's as good as I think he's going to be, then we'll start putting him in some team periods tomorrow on Thursday, and we'll probably get some snaps out of him.
Mark Starr, close to 100%, your offensive tackle.
Mark is 100%. He'll start at tackle. We'll bump Joe Caprillo down to guard, stay with Weston at center. But we have played a combination in there, and we'll continue to do so. I like the way Pat does that. We're always getting the third guard and the third tackle in the game, and I think that pays dividends down the road when somebody gets nicked.
Steve, how about the evaluation of that offensive line? Obviously, running has been a bit of an issue, but you've given up a few sacks, too, this year.
It's funny because when you look at the tape, that was probably the bright spot of the offense was the line. I thought we blocked them pretty good, and Jake Kadowski had a good game in there at guard, and I continue to praise Paul Madsen, who we've had on the show as the weak tackle. Some of our sacks, we're holding on the ball too long, and we're not picking it up at running back, or maybe not timing out the route the way we should. So I like what our offensive line's doing. We're far from perfect. We need to improve there as the weeks go on, but there's some real hope. And when you go against a physical team like TCU with that type of line and the young line like we have, and to block them the way we did, you can walk out of that game with some positive feeling.
Yeah, it's interesting you say holding on to the football too long. You're referring to the true freshman Pete Thomas. I'm curious, in your work with quarterbacks, do you see inexperienced quarterbacks usually try to get rid of the football quicker or hold on to it too long?
It's a combination of both, but everything we do is stepped out at receiver and timed with the drop, and we may ask him to take 5 steps and throw it on the plant. He may take 5 and hitch once. He may take 5 and hitch twice, depending on the steps and the depth of the route. So there's a lot of timing involved. But, young quarterbacks, sometimes they see a secondary coverage that they don't recognize, they haven't seen before, and they're a little late getting to their first or second choice, and they end up holding on the ball too long. And Pete's done a nice job. He really has. But, again, some of those sacks, we could help the line out.
Yeah, I will say this. I like the composure of Pete Thomas. I thought it would be a test against TCU, a team that was certainly going to come after him. And he just doesn't seem to get too flustered there in that pocket.
No, good, tough kid, smart, likes to take coaching, and got a very, very bright future in front of him.
Well, let's give out that phone number for the first time. If you have a question or a comment for the coach, it's 1-866-702-7691. Again, 1-866-702-7691 if you have a question for the coach. With that, we'll step aside. Plenty more to come here tonight from Old Town Fort Collins. The Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. From Elegant Sports, the Colorado State Sports Network. Great crowd on hand once again. Saw Nick Frank back there, part of the Colorado State Sports Information Department, doing a nice job. Nick is the guy that stands at the back fence there and picks the players off that have media requests for him.
Oh, yeah,
so
I see Nick hard at work.
He's one of those guys that a lot of the players are like, please don't call my name. Please don't tap me on the shoulder here.
I see Nick here working. Where's Zach?
I don't know. Where is Zach Gilbert?
What's going on?
Zach is back at the office working. See, Nick isn't working right now. Steve, second time that you get a ranked team in consecutive weeks. And I know you don't have any control over this, but you look at how you guys opened up Mountain West Conference play last year as BYU, Utah, and TCU. Well, here you go. You get TCU and Air Force. That conference office isn't doing you guys any favors right off the bat.
Well, it is what it is, and, we don't spend much time dwelling over the schedule. And every time I've done that, you end up looking at it in the summer, and you're wrong anyway. But we have probably pulled 2 of the top teams right out of the gate, and Air Force, the way they're playing, and they go into Norman, Oklahoma, and play the way they played is a real testament to their team and their coaching staff. So it'll be a good test for us. They're deserving of the top 25 ranking. It'll be on the road. That's a tough place to play, but we've had some great games down there. This is a rivalry game, and you look back over the last 20 years, there's been some tremendous games, and I know our kids enjoy playing them.
All right, help me out with the year. What was the year? It was like 42-41. Moses Moreno was throwing all over the place.
I remember looking at Sonny Lubick after the game, and he looked at me, and I don't think either one of us knew what to say. We were down 41-14 in the second half, and
That's right.
Came back
right.
and threw a last-minute touchdown to Ron Antoine, or actually 10 seconds left, and Moses pulled that one out. So, but there's been some just tremendous games on both sides, and some great players, and hopefully this will be a good game and entertaining for the fans.
As an Air Force football team, I know they were looking at this year as kind of that chance to break into that top tier of Mountain West Conference team. So I imagine you're probably not all that surprised with the early season success that they've had.
Well, they hammered BYU pretty good, so they are in the top tier as far as we're concerned. And we've said all along, and Paul Kowalczyk and I talk about it, we've got to get our program like Troy Calhoun has gotten that one going, and all of us are trying to break into that top end of the conference. And you've seen the progress Air Force has made since Troy's been there. It's a tribute to him and his staff, and I think we'll start at some point this year. We're going to start to see a little bit of progress on our part, and maybe here before too long we can get up there with Air Force and TCU.
Well, and to kind of speak upon that and the kind of program that they have going on down there. Of course, they've run essentially that same offense as they had since Fisher to Berry. I know Troy's made a few tweaks, but they had 5 new offensive line starters here this year, and they don't miss a beat. They just keep plugging guys in.
Well, that's what good programs do, but the other end of it is they had all their production in terms of yardage coming back, which in that scheme's more important. And any yard they made offensively the year before was back playing for them this year. So that's a very, very experienced team. And when you do that type of scheme with the timing and the reading of the option, that's where you make your money. So they're very experienced. They're very good on offense.
Well, the Rams are going to get Air Force coming up on Saturday. Then the week after that, Saturday, October 16th, it's the annual homecoming game. It's always a hot ticket, and the end zone tickets are almost sold out. In fact, I talked to Gary Ozello today. That north stands, I believe, is now sold out, but still plenty of tickets left. Rams and the Rebels, October 16th, kickoff at noon. Call 1-800-491-RAMS or visit csurams.com for tickets to that homecoming matchup. More with the coach, Steve Fairchild, after this. Live at the Beach House Grill in Fort Collins. I'm Milligan Sports. It's the Colorado State Sports Network. Well, we're back at the midway point to the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show, live in Old Town Fort Collins. Ram fans, don't forget, you can join us here at the Beach House Grill at 125 South College Avenue in Old Town Fort Collins. We're here every Wednesday night from 6:30 to 7:30 against the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show. Brian Roth back with you with the head coach, Steve Fairchild. Again, if you want to hop on board, 1-866-702-7691, 866-702-7691. We talked a little bit about that program down there at Air Force. Curious, your relationship with Troy Calhoun. Did you guys know each other much before you took the CSU job?
No, not a whole lot. We'd met before, and obviously his background's similar. He'd played at Air Force like I had played at CSU, and been an assistant there like I had been here, and then went on to the NFL for a few years, and then had a chance to come back to his alma mater like I did. And I think we both feel very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to do what we're doing. He worked with a lot of friends of mine that people might know, John Benton and those type of guys that had coached with us with Sonny, and they moved on to the NFL. And so there's a lot of mutual friends. But I respect Troy. As I've gotten to know him since I've been back here as the head football coach, he's a tremendous person, he and his wife, and really doing things the right way and for the right reasons. He's in it for the kids, and he's not trying to cut corners, and and he'll tell you there's some tough things about the Air Force Academy. What he won't tell you is there's some really good benefits to being at the Air Force Academy, but we all have our strengths and weaknesses, and they've certainly played to theirs. He's got himself a good football team.
I know you pretty much almost exclusively look at their defense because you're an offensive coach, but he has made some tweaks to that offense, has he not?
A ton, yeah.
It's not Fisher to Berry's offense.
This is not what we saw when Larry Kerr and I were here before. This is a different deal. This has Troy's name all over it. Really formational, really innovative, and it's a different brand of offense, and I like looking at it because there's things you can study and get some ideas from. So he's an impressive coach.
And, of course, somebody like me that's never coached, I look at it, it looks like that same kind of wishbone, but they still run that fullback. They still get it out on the edge with that option, too.
In principle, they know what they have to do down there to be good, and that's obviously run the clock and run the ball. And what Troy did when he got there was move a lot of the skill that he had over on the defensive side of the ball to try to get that short up. So, he had a plan, and certainly their teams improved every year, and, we got to do the same at Colorado State.
Yeah, they do have some pretty good players there offensively. Tim Jefferson, he's a guy that obviously he's a rushing quarterback, but kind of beat you guys through the air for a couple touchdowns last year.
Yeah, he can throw it, and when they've had a special guy there that can not only run the ball the way you need to in that offense, but can make the throw down the field for the big play, then you can go back to the 80s, and when they've had that type of guy, they've taken a step up and been very, very hard to defend.
Of course, that offense is always tough. The #1 rushing team in the nation. No surprise there, but that defense is very good as well. We'll talk to Steve about that Air Force defense when we come back. It's the Coors Light Steve Fairchild Coaches Show live here on a Wednesday night in Fort Collins from Nelligan Sports, Colorado State Sports Network.